At this time, I'll call our regular meeting to order. We appreciate all of those of you that are here in attendance. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Wesley Holmes, who is the pastor of Hope Mills Church of God, to please come to the microphone for invocation, which will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. All will please rise.
Let us pray. Lord, I'd like to thank you for each and every one that has gathered here today. Thank you, Lord, for your many blessings. Lord, I thank you for life itself. Lord, I thank you for health. Lord, I thank you, Lord, that you would help us to fulfill our calling. And Lord, the friendships that we have among each other tonight. Thank you, Lord, for the ability to work and to do your will. Lord, the responsibilities that is before us tonight, Lord, we just thank you for that. Lord, we thank you for the freedom to embrace you. Lord, we thank you for loving each and every one of us. Therefore, Lord, I pray tonight for this meeting. Lord, I pray for our mayor, for our officials, for our commissioners. Lord, I'm asking, Lord, that you would grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our day. Lord, I pray for a sense of welfare and true needs of our people. Lord, I pray for the ability to work together in harmony. Lord, for the peace that passeth all understanding. And Lord, in the personal peace, Lord, that you give in the lives and the joy of the task that's at hand. Lord, I pray for this agenda tonight. Lord, that you administer to each and every one. I pray for the assurance, Lord, that you would be pleased. And Lord, that each thing would benefit you, Lord, for our beloved city of Hope Mills. Lord, I thank you, Lord, for all this in your lovely name, the name of Jesus. And we said, Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I would also like to thank Pastor Holmes because he has agreed to head up our Pastors Coalition, and they'll be meeting monthly, and the goal is to make sure that our whole community is involved in our invocations here, and also to make sure activities are planned for the entire community. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to our agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve our agenda that's before you?
So moved.
Have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. At this time, I have some presentations to read. Whereas all children in Hope Mills should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas Hope Mills recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Hope Mills to be successful adults, and whereas there are a variety of school choice options available for many of the 2.3 million children living in North Carolina, families in North Carolina can choose from traditional public schools, public charter schools, public magnet schools, private schools, online academies, and homeschooling. Whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. Whereas Hope Mills has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children. Whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jackie Warner, do hereby recognize January 26th to February the 1st as Hope Mills School Choice Week, and I ask our citizens to call this observance. Next is the Black History Month proclamation. Whereas 2020 marks the sesquicentennial of the 15th Amendment, 1870, and the right of black men to the ballot after the Civil War. The theme, African Americans and the Vote, speaks therefore to the ongoing struggle on the part of both black men and black women for the right to vote. Whereas even before the Civil War, black men petitioned their legislatures and the U.S. Congress seeking to be recognized as voters. Black disenfranchisement laws in the late 19th and early 20th centuries undermined the guarantees in the 14th and 15th Amendment for the great majority of Southern blacks under the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Whereas through voting rights campaigns from the turn of the century to the mid-1960s, African Americans made their voices heard as to the importance of the vote. Indeed, the fight for black voting rights continues in the courts today. Whereas the theme, African Americans and the Vote, also includes the rise of black elected and appointed officials at the local and national levels, campaigns for equal rights legislation, as well as the role of blacks in traditional and alternative political parties. Whereas since 1976, Black History has been celebrated the entire month of February. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Commissioners of the Town of Hope Mills do hereby proclaim the month of February Black History Month and urge all citizens of our community to give full regard to the past and continuing service of African Americans in our city, our state, and our nation. Next, we have on our agenda an update on the public safety facility, and I'll turn it over to our Finance Director, Mr. Drew Holland.
Get the screen back on. Good evening. We're going to have an update for you on the public safety facility. And I see it, it's just not very bright. Okay, we have with us tonight Scott Brown. He is with Garner Brown Architects. He is our architect on this project. He's been working with us from the beginning, and that screen is different than my screen. But anyways, before we go over the slides, I'm just going to go over the calendar of what we've got going on and when. That is the site plan in front of you there, but I'll go over that in just a second. First, to start off with, we're going to talk about the temporary police station, which we'll start referring to that as the Main Street Police Station going forward. Tonight in your agendas, you have the permit for change of use to be approved. And once that's done, the construction can start tomorrow. Once that permit is issued and the use is changing from what was a hardware store, regular commercial, to public safety. So the designation has to change for that by our planning ordinances. So anyways, once that's approved, they can get started on that tomorrow. They need about 8 weeks to get that done. And then that'll put us to roughly the end of February, beginning of March. Once that's complete, pretty much the month of March, the current police station, they'll be moving all of their resources out of the existing police station into the Main Street station, and hopefully that'll finish by the end of March. And then April, the building will be empty. We may use it for some training for the fire station in the meantime, and the building then will be part of the construction phase to be demolished after that. The part of the process of also, once the police have moved the detective's trailer that is sitting out here on the site on the back side of the property, we're going to see about the possibility of moving that to the golf course property on the back side of the maintenance building, that the Parks and Rec maintenance folks can use it temporarily until we start working on different things on the golf course. But it'll have, that way there'll be a presence out there on the golf course, and it'll take care of some vandalism, things of that nature. But we're looking into what that cost would be to move those, the detective trailers over to the golf course. So that'll be part of clearing the site. So then once the Main Street Police Station is finished and they're moved in there, again, that'll probably be toward the end of March, sometime in April. Then talking about the new center, the John W. Hodges Public Safety Center, we should have the construction drawings finished near the end of this month. They're in the final stages now. He should have those finished by the end of the month. Once they're finished, we'll get new estimates. I wanted to have you a project budget by now, but we're going to wait for those final estimates, and then probably one of the meetings in February, we'll have you that final project budget. I've got the numbers here where we're at right now, but just in case they change, I want to hold off and get those final estimates, and then we'll bring the project budget before you. Once the construction drawings are finished, we'll submit them to our inspections department and the Department of Insurance. That'll probably take them about a month to review and hopefully approve and not have any changes. So if they're approved by the end of February, then in March, at the same time that police is moving out of their building, we'll be bidding the new project. They'll be ready to send out requests for proposals and bid out the project. And then hopefully we'll receive several bids in April, open those up, bring one to you for approval, and then that way we can break ground in May of this year. So, and it coincides with the Main Street Police Station. By the time police is out and we get a contract approved for the new building, the site will then be ready for the construction. So, if we look at the, Scott, if you want to turn that board around, we'll have these boards up here throughout the meeting or after the meeting if anybody wants to look at them. But on the slide, Scott, if you could just show them where the new station is actually going to be located on there. It's an L-shaped building.
This is the new building right here. This is the fire portion right here facing Golf View over here. And this is the entrance into the building. The shared facilities are in here. And the police department is in this part. This is facing Blackfish right here. They have police parking back here, fire parking back here, and this drawing shows the stormwater retention bonds here and here, but these are being modified. They will be underground, so that will be better.
Right, the final drawings will show those as underground retainage
But
ponds.
that's being done at the moment.
Okay, so then what we'll do is the construction will happen in 3 phases, and we've shown each 3 phases here. The first phase, phase 1, will be the demo of the existing police station and clearing the site. So phase 1 is the one furthest to the left there, and if you see all the area that's grayed out, that is everything that's going to be fenced in for the new project. And if you notice, Scott, if you can show them where Town Hall is on that, it's right on the edge. Town Hall is the area on the side of that dark line there. So the parking lot next to Town Hall and the road coming in off of Gulfview are all going to be fenced off. That is going to be the construction entrance to the site. So during the construction time, that area will not be open and that parking lot is not going to be able to be used. But we're going to be reconfiguring the whole thing in the meantime. So when it opens, you'll see the final here. So phase 1 will roughly last about a month. That'll be May of this year. Again, that's demoing the existing police station and clearing the site and getting it ready for construction. And if you also notice, it goes around the current fire station. So the existing fire station will stay active as it is right now, and they will be able to use both sides of the fire station that they're using now. So nothing is really going to change as far as the fire station goes at this time. So phase 2 is in the bottom corner here. Or is the top? Okay. The top, if you see all the area that's grayed in, that's all the construction that's going to happen during phase 2. That's roughly going to take about 16 months. So it'll be finished, if everything goes as planned, by December of 2021. And you see the outline of the new building. That's the new building there. And then if you see the new entrance to the road that comes adjacent to Town Hall, it's going to be sliding over a little bit. And then the road will still go through, and then there's going to be new parking next to Town Hall, but it's going to be more towards the front door. So right now we've got parking on the side, and a lot of times when folks go to Town Hall, they don't know if they're coming in the back or if they need to go in the front. Well, most of the time during the day, they need to be coming in the front. And they'll come in the back not knowing what they need to get. So this kind of steers the visitors to Town Hall more towards the front entrance. So the parking lot's going to be more toward the front of the building, And then on the other side of the road, there'll be parking for the police and fire station. So there'll be more spaces. It'll be about double the spaces we have now that we have on the side. The other thing we're doing is we're leaving access to the drive-through window. So if we ever need to use that, right now we're not using it for drive-up services, but if we ever do need to use it for something, we're not going to eliminate that, so that will stay. And then just beyond that, for deliveries at the back door, we're going to leave the recessed area there, so deliveries and things won't be in the road. They can pull over to the side and have deliveries to the back door at Town Hall. The other thing we're adding to that will be a sidewalk from the back to the front. Right now, there's not a sidewalk from the back of the building to the front of the building. You have to walk through the parking lot, or if you go this way, through the grass. What we're going to be doing, the area between Town Hall, the grass area that's there now will pretty much stay, and then there'll be a sidewalk put in. So if you want to kind of gauge the distance that the road is going to be from Town Hall, it'll be the existing grass area, and then where that curb cut is, that's where the sidewalk will start. So there'll be a sidewalk that you can walk on from the back to the front without having to go on the road or in the parking lot. And then as you see in the back behind the building, you see the police station parking lot. And then the road that comes from Gulfview to behind the fire station and police station and behind Town Hall, during this phase, that area is going to be closed or cut off. And part of the walking trail just on the back side there will be closed as well. The walking trail will continue to go down Gulfview and across Rockfish, just the area behind the police and fire station. That area is going to have to change a little bit. So that one section of the walking trail will have to be closed off during those 16 months. And that'll be finished by, again, December of 2021. And then the third phase, once that's done, police will be moved in, fire will be moved into the new building. So the existing fire station then will be empty. So phase 3 will be the demo of the existing fire station and then putting in the new driveway and parking lot for the fire station. And that should take roughly 2 months. So completion date of the entire project should be March of 2022. So that's everything in phases. Right now it looks like we are still within our $16.5 million budget that we first talked about. We're still working with USDA on finalizing everything for the loan. And what's going to happen with the loan during construction, we'll have a construction loan from a local bank for probably 2 years during the construction period, and then that loan will then be refinanced by USDA, and then it'll be the long-term USDA financing. And right now, they're at 2.75%. So we've got a great interest rate, and if we can lock in that rate now, then that's what we'll have when we move forward with the long-term loan and the financing. And then during construction, Scott is going to be, and his firm will be the ones on site doing the project management. They'll be here weekly, having weekly meetings with the construction team, the project managers, and staying on top of everything that needs to be done. If they feel that there needs to be more than that, they'll do that. And then also having monthly meetings. And whenever they're doing any of the major concrete work and some of the finishing things, they'll be there to make sure that it's done according to the plans. So there will be definitely some good oversight on the project. Did I miss anything?
We also have special inspectors.
Oh, the inspectors, right.
Special inspectors, which are third-party independent inspectors required by the state building code to be on site whenever concrete work is being done and the walls are being granted. They will inspect the wells on the steel. I mean, it's an important check on the contractor's work. It's required by the building code, so we don't have a choice in that. And there's money set aside before that.
Okay, so I'm going to see if there's any questions that y'all have.
I have one little
Okay,
one.
Commissioner Legg?
What we're going to do with the police memorial?
The police memorial, we're going to move that. If we go to,
The idea, I think the police memorial is going to be placed over in front of the police station on the Rockfish Road side, so that you can access it from the sidewalk here. It'll be right in this area right here. we're gonna store that during construction, and then it will be placed back on the site.
Okay, good.
Right.
Because we went through quite a lot to get that memorial.
Yeah. It'll just be relocated.
Just want to be sure it stays here.
Yep.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir, Commissioner Bellflowers.
thank you. I know the construction's going to be complete in March 22. What's
Yes.
the length of the lease for the Main Street Police Station?
The lease on the police station, I believe, is up in May of 2022.
Okay, so
Yeah, so this fits within that window.
just for clarity purposes, that's
Yep.
the reason I asked that. Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the goals too that we had. I didn't want to extend that lease.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this fits within that. So that's kind of gives us a couple of months of leeway if we have to, but hopefully we'll be done in March.
Well, that's two goals at once.
Yeah.
Two win-wins. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Holland? No?
And anytime, if you ever have questions about the project or want to stop by and see any of the boards, because what we've got is those are the phases. Here's the floor plans. Here's the this is more of the technical look at the outside of the building. There's more of a finished look of the outside of the building, and there we go. So that's what the finished project will look like once we're done.
Remember, I do have another
So
question.
I'm excited.
How many square feet will be shared square feet between the police and fire department?
I'm not sure exactly how much square foot that is, but if you look at this drawing here, the very middle area where you see the large room with the seats in the middle, that's going to be our EOC. It's going to be a training room plus our emergency operations center. So coming into future, next hurricane, situations like that, this is going to have generator power that's going to power the entire building. Anything that we need to do as far as the town will be operating out of the center of this building. That's the shared space in the middle. Upstairs, that's going to be the workout room, the weight room, workout room, so that police and fire can both use it. And then you've got a lobby in the front area, and the elevator and a staircase. So, and then the downstairs has the lobby, staircase and elevator too.
We have about 18,500 square feet for the fire department. We have about 17,000 square feet for the police department, and they share almost 8,000 square feet. So
Okay, that's decent size.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank
Appreciate
y'all.
that. Good news.
we're very excited about it. I think
Yes.
It's gonna be a nice building, and we're looking forward to seeing ground be broken and get construction underway.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we just need to get ready to go in over here because I've already got questions. How long have we rented that for already? We're not in it. I mean, like 9 months or something?
It's been a while. It's taken that long to get to this point, but we're doing it the right way, and it's going to be a nice building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have case number 19-133, consideration of the Robert Sandage property, O&I site plan review, Hope Mills zoning ordinance zone O&I, acreage .96 acreage plus or minus. It's located at 4925 Cameron Road, and it was submitted by Robert L. Sandage. I'll turn it over to Mr. McLaughlin.
Hello, Madam Mayor, board members. As stated, this is case 19-133, which is a site plan approval request. This is an aerial photograph. Subject property is outlined in yellow. The location is at the southwest intersection of Cameron Road and Meadowwood Court. As it relates to background information, it's a .96 acre tract. It's addressed as officially as 4925 Cameron Road, developed with an existing residential structure. Egress and ingress is provided off of Cameron Road. It's currently zoned O&IP, and the proposal is for a religious worship activity that will provide for a total of 11 parking spaces. This is your proposed site plan, and that basically concludes the presentation. This is an existing residential structure that Mr. Sandage will ultimately be converted into a religious facility. He has met at length with staff in terms of my staff and inspection staff to find out what the process he'd have to go through to bring it up to code, which is what led to the submission of the site plan approval with the county. I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. McLaughlin? Action to be taken?
Make a motion, we approve case number 19-133.
Have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Thank you. Next, we have case 19-134, consideration of the Hope Mills Police Station C3 site plan review. Hope Mills zoning ordinance zone C3, acreage .76 plus or minus, located at 3790 and 3800 South Main Street, submitted by Joel E. Autry, owner, George Rose, engineer, Town of Hope Mills developer, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. McLaughlin.
This is case P19-134. And ironically, it's tied to the previous presentation from our finance director, Drew Holland. This is tied to this is the temporary building that the police will be utilizing. Subject property is outlined in yellow. It's a 0.76 acre tract. It's addressed at 3790 and 3800 South Main. There are 2 vacant commercial structures on site. We'll only be utilizing the one that was the old hardware store. 24 existing parking spaces located on site. There's an existing chain link fence that encloses the side and rear. And again, this is this proposal is for the temporary utilization of the building by the police station during the construction of the public safety building. This is us basically approving us. But I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
Okay, we have anyone with questions for Mr. McLaughlin?
Madam Mayor, I do.
Yes, sir.
We engaged in a lease on this building in May at $5,000 a month. And here it is, January 2020. And we're just now approving a site plan. Why is that?
This site plan was submitted to the county when it was brought to my attention. That was towards the end of November. So the current track, basically as staff, we treat the project just like we would treat any other project. So I'm ultimately just reviewing this the way I would view any other submission of any development that was coming to our plan review team. So it was brought to our attention around November that this site needed to go through this process. So when it was submitted, or when I was engaged, that's when we ultimately had Drew to get a survey done to have it submitted to the county.
But you're saying this is us approving us.
Yes.
Did this have to go to the county planning board for approval?
Not to the county planning board. The only thing that goes to the planning board are zoning requests. But just like the previous request for the church, anything that is ultimately the use of an existing facility or a change of use, it does have to go to the county for the application to be submitted. It comes directly to us, which is why it's before you tonight. But for a site plan approval, it does not require a public hearing, which means that it does not have to go to the county for the planning board prior to coming to us, like you would do with a text amendment.
So who's responsible for the site plan? Because we started the lease in May.
Yeah, that would be the project manager, which would be Drew and Mr. Scott. Like I said, as staff, I'm not managing the project. I'm just treating it just like I would treat any other project once it's submitted to us for a request, so that we can let them know what the process would be. And when that happened, that's when we ultimately had to submit it to the county.
So May, June, July, August, September, October. What is it? 5 months?
Yes.
$5,000 a month, and then a site plan comes in November, and here we are, January, approving it, and no construction or anything's been done to the building since May.
My only involvement with this project of any kind is what you see before us tonight.
All right.
So I cannot speak to what happened between.
Drew's got it. I knew he'd come up.
The reason for a part of the delay was we had to wait to get bids on the facility itself. And that is what took so long. We did not have bidders for 3 months. We'd bid it out, we received no bids. We changed it a little bit, sent it out again, no bids. Finally, the third time we sent it out, we finally got some bids. So then we met with an actual contractor to see what we can do with this facility. Once we were able to do that, get some generalized plans, get the inspections department, what can we do now, what can we do later. That took several months. So by the time we get to October, we actually had some plans that were starting to be worked on. So in November, I find out we have a change of use. At the end of November, it's right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there we go.
So once I found out it's a change of use, well, now we have to do the site plan, and so that's when we started working on that. But at that point, we'd already had the plans ready. We were actually getting ready to start construction. So I'm glad Chancellor told me, hey, you need a site plan.
But you didn't know that prior to November.
I did not know there was a change of use and that required a site plan. I didn't know we had to do that. But once
In
Chancellor
May.
told me,
Okay.
then we had to stop, do the site plan, go through the proper approvals, and so now we have it. But that's really why
Okay.
there was this, I won't even call it a delay. It just took a while to get folks to bid on this project. It's not a large project, so a lot of construction companies don't want to spend their time for small projects.
Now,
So-
does this site plan, does it fit the budget that was approved by the previous board,
As far as,
the monetary amount?
oh, it wasn't much, it was a minimal amount. It didn't cost much, because actually nothing on the site changed.
Okay.
The only thing that's changing is the use of the building itself. So all they had to do was just do a survey of the existing structures and what was out there. So there's no change to the site whatsoever, which is another reason why I wasn't sure that we even needed a site plan.
Well, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, so I didn't think we needed
agree
one,
with
but
you. I
the
wouldn't
change of
either.
use had to go through the process, so we have to follow our own rules, so that's what we did.
Thank you, Drew.
All right.
Madam Mayor, if there's no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay.
site plan.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Thank you,
Thanks.
sir. The next item on our agenda is public comments. Each speaker is asked to limit comments to 3 minutes. Citizens have already signed up with the town clerk. Although the board is interested in hearing your concerns, speakers should not expect board action or deliberation on subject matter brought up during the public comment segment. Topics requiring further investigation will be referred to the appropriate town officials or staff and may be scheduled for a future agenda. Please direct comments to the full board, not to an individual board or staff member. And first up is Mr. Rod McLean.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, staff, members of the public. My name is Rod McLean, 5435 Fountain Lane. On December the 19th, I attended a nominating committee meeting. The Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Edwards were the members of the committee. Sue Moody, Elizabeth Blevins, Cynthia Phillips, and myself were members of the public observing the committee. A lot of you ran to be elected on transparency, and I'd like to bring some transparency to this nominating committee. Number one, the committee was held in an office which was way too small, and it should have been moved to a larger room when they found out how many people were coming to pay attention to the committee. I have worked on 2 committees, the Lake Advisory Board, the Historic Preservation Commission. We have always worked under Robert's Rules of Order. This BOC generally works under Robert's Rules of Order. And that normally means that if a committee is doing their work and they're just making their discussions, members of the public sit down and shut up. They do not speak. Twice during this committee meeting, members of the public who were watching made sotto voce comments to the members of the committee. That was not stopped. Nobody said a word. Nobody told them they shouldn't do that. And it affected the members of the committee by these comments. We have had members on committees outside of the town limits for quite a considerable period of time due to the lack of having volunteers to man committees. We still have that problem. But it was stated that no one outside town limits will be on a committee. They can volunteer to help out if they want to. That does not help this town. And somebody's not going to volunteer to help out if they have no skin in the game by being on a committee and helping direct how things go. One of the other comments made by the public was, how many women are on the Veterans Committee? What has that to do with anything during a committee meeting? Nothing.
That's time.
I will, however, if I may, make one last comment. There was a statement made by one of the committee members. I am making a statement that if you can't behave, you can't be on a committee or a commission. I would like to also make a statement. I am making a statement that I am not going to work for an underhanded organization that we have in Hope Mills today. I hereby resign any idea of being on the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Joanne Scarola.
My name's Joanne Scarola. My address is 5429 Archer Road. Several months ago, I had to write this down just so I keep my thoughts organized. Several months ago, during the Board of Commissioners meeting in this very room, I voiced my opinion on how business was being conducted by some of the elected. Now, the CERT team from Hope Mills was then blacklisting from Hope Mills events as long as I participated on the team. And I actually have emails stating that. I keep hearing that you say this is a new board, yet it's the same backdoor business, and now a step further, it's discriminatory business and biased. You deny my application to volunteer for Hope Mills because you feel I'm disagreeable or disrespectful. Yet I want to remind you that my opinion and my right to voice my opinion is protected by the First Amendment, which is, my opinion, it's an opinion piece. I and others fought to give us that right. And now I'm being blackballed from volunteering to serve my community. It just proves what I and many others have said before. There's shady, inappropriate dealings going on in Hope Mills, and you can't be trusted. Can't be trusted. So now I'm left with two choices. I can use my First Amendment right, but can't be a volunteer for my community, or I can keep quiet and I'm able to volunteer. So that's quid pro quo. If you do this, we'll allow you to do that. And I'm sorry, that's very discriminatory. How hypocritical, Your own friends can voice their opinions and their words that are ugly and tangled with lies, but it's okay because it promotes your agenda. I'm a nice person. I help people. I volunteer my time all the time. If someone gets wounded in combat, you're required to give first aid because that's one of your responsibilities. I help anyone. But, with this kind of mistreatment with citizens, everyone's going to, they're going to sit back and watch it fail because that's what they see. One of my favorite movies is The Color Purple. Kind of telling out my age a little bit. Steele, who was played by Whoopi Goldberg, said this line, "Until you do right by me, everything you think about is going to fail." Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Alisa Bellflowers.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alisa Bellflowers, and I live at 3306 Harrisburg Drive. I thank you all for attending tonight and giving me the opportunity to speak. I deliver this message representing the youth of Hope Mills. For those who may not know who I am, many here tonight can tell you that they've watched me grow up. I have been a silent yet active member of this community all my life. I was raised by amazing people to who have bestowed upon me their best traits. I have my mother's fearlessness, my grandmother's intelligence, and my grandfather's heart. However, the most important trait I have developed on my own is the unconditional love for the town I have grown up in. Over the past few years, I've witnessed a great deal of events, especially considering my grandfather was elected onto the Board of Commissioners in 2017. For example, I have witnessed a member of our community post disparaging, unfounded remarks regarding my grandfather's health, as well as his patriotism. Just as it does to many others, it breaks my heart to see such disturbing events occur. With that being said, I'm here today to deliver this message. From the youth of Hope Mills, our eyes lay upon you. We are not oblivious to your actions. We see the destruction, the lies, and the duplicity befouling the town we have grown up in. Before our eyes, we are watching our home be destroyed by those who we assumed would preserve it. Instead, we are watching our home waste away at the hands of those who exhibit absurd egomania. To the elected officials, media representatives, and friends who pushed or supported the decision to take away the voices of my fellow citizens of Hope Mills, to destroy a historical property of Hope Mills, and to express deplorable defamation of another elected official, shame on you. You are elected to serve this community and do what's in the best interest for the citizens in this town as a whole, not yourself. As officials, you should be able to set aside your personal feelings and vendettas. You have been acting like children. We ask with genuine curiosity, what kind of example are you attempting to set? This next wave of new voters in 2021 can and will replace officials into office who have displayed that they care about Hope Mills and its citizens. Trust us when we say our generation is loud. At this rate, our future generations will never know the beauty that is Hope Mills, or rather was. We are the future of this town, and we refuse to deal with the consequences of your actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Karla Welch.
First of all, my husband is passing out a copy of this. It was emailed to each of you, but it was at 4 o'clock this afternoon, so you probably missed it.
I want to say thank you.
Shown on the 1914 Sanborn map, by the way, it's about the significance of the parish house. Oh, I'm sorry, Karla Welsh, I said that, 3626 Lake Forest Road. Shown on the 1914 Sanborn map, it remains important in Hope Mills history for its contributions for over 100 years as a community center, Sunday school, and administration office for its sister church next door. It's also important because the Episcopal Church property was part of the original Hope Mills No. 1 village, because it was so important to Thomas Campbell Oakman that he gave the property to the church rather than back to Rockfish Manufacturing with the next sale. Thomas Oakman was instrumental in rebuilding the mill after the Civil War, and Mill No. 1 eventually became the town of Hope Mills. And because it was also significant enough to be included in the description of historic Mill Village properties for the 1985 National Register of Historic Properties, to be included as part of the Heritage Park Plan, but no use specified, and to have also been referenced as part of the conditions of a completion of a museum by the Army Corps of Engineers in lieu of payment of wetland mitigation fees for the new dam. I believe the waiver of the fees was done before the purchase on November 20th, 2017 of the Trade Street Museum. In that case, the intention of the Corps of Engineers was for the parish house to be the museum that the town had planned since the first 2012 conversation with the Episcopal Church and Diocese. The promise was made from the beginning. So it appears that the town accepted the donation, then sat on it, without even doing preventative maintenance to ensure the few missing roof shingles, some damaged missing soffit, missing damaged flashing for the chimney, and trim boards. See the original AmeriSpec inspection from January 2014. The lack of preventative maintenance on these items alone led to most of the current extended damage, with the help of Hurricane Matthew in 2016 and Hurricane Florence 2018. The original report and the Gordon Johnson architect study both stated that immediate repairs should be done on these items. Also, window ACs were left in the windows, which allowed further water intrusion and damage. Even the mayor herself expressed her concerns the town had done no preventative maintenance on the building for 3 years. She said that July 10th, 2017. So common sense would be to do these items, preventative maintenance. I would think, trying to go a little faster here. On October the 10th, 2015, the town voted unanimously to appropriate $229,000 for renovations to bring buildings up to code for public use and approve the contract to begin renovations. By the way, the AmeriSpec report, which was done at about the same time as the first termite inspection, showed the same areas of old termite damage as the 2017 update. I believe that Mason is going to allow me to take the next 3 minutes.
It's not.
It's been done before. I've been here when it's happened.
It has to be.
I am sorry. It has happened before.
Well, we've got the printed copy before us, but it's 3 minutes per person.
Madam Mayor, is Mason Steele signed up?
Yes, sir. Mason Steele is the next speaker,
Okay, so he can pick up where she left off. Is that correct? If he chooses?
or whatever he
If he chooses?
plans to speak.
Okay.
Yes.
Mason Steele, 3626 Lake Forest Road in this town of Hope Mills. There is no way to save the building. I can see tearing it down, but many people have to give you options and you are not considering them. First of all, there is a legal delay. If we understand if the State Historic Preservation Commission to be 180 days. Believe the statute might be a part of what is discussed in closed session. While Historic District is in the process of being approved, which includes the Parish House as a designated building, there is a delay in the demolition. I had originally asked about the statute, delay in demolition by neglect, but the state representative recommended we look into other ones. This was forwarded to the attorney and to the town manager, who in turn forwarded it to the commissioners. Jeff Adolphson from the State Historic Preservation, or State HPC, has volunteered to meet with Commissioner Bellflowers and the FTCC students to see what can be done. We also can help with doing minimal weatherproofing, what he calls mothballing, to protect it, which should have been done years ago. Until stabilization can be done. It can be done in phases. I still don't understand why the monies once appropriated for the museum complex can't be used, as the Historic Commission has never given up on the Parish House. Why can't a new roof be put on it, along with the soffits, etc., like one for the chapel? The contract is only $5,143 for the chapel, not much smaller than that of the Parish House. That's not an outrageous amount of money. Grants can be obtained possibly through food grants or hurricane grants, or through the Heritage Plan, matching grant funds for the entire project. But it must be included. It is part of our heritage. Don't let us lose another historic building. Commissioner Bellflowers has agreed to work with the restoration with his FTCC team if we can get the stabilization done. We would only need to pay for the materials. We can ask volunteers to do some of the work. The Hope Mills Historic Society will begin to help the fundraising. We have over $3,000 now and are going to be slow. We only incorporated in August. We have decided to consider a GoFundMe page for the nonprofits, but there's a kind of commitment for our town. We can set goals based on smaller projects, not $100,000 at a shot. We need your consideration of the facts involved with the Perry's House and the importance to our community and your commitment to save that important piece of history. It's
Thank
your
you.
choice.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Grilli Mitchell.
Good evening. Grilli Mitchell, 4056 Williamville Luther Drive, Hope Mills. Mayor, commissioners, town staff, and citizens. I'm asking you all, as this new board has assumed this role, duties, and responsibility, to make smart, sound decisions. Decisions that is going to be effective for this town and beneficial to the people. Not some of the people, but all the people. When you make decisions, look at the big picture, not keep it in a box. Seek knowledge, guidance from a town staff. That's what they get paid to do. You have a town staff, you pay them a salary, provide them with the information that you require, that you need, the questions, and have them go out and provide that to you. Solid, sound, smart decisions. In this day and time, no excuse to be making bad decisions. We have smart TVs, we have smart computers, we have smartphones, and most of all, we have smart people. And that's what I believe we have in our town staff, smart people. I do believe that we have smart elected officials. So as you move forward in 2020, have the vision, 2020 vision to work together, move forward together to make solid decisions. Colin Powell once said, and this, I kept it in my office all the time for my staff, being responsible, I read and quote, means pissing other people off, making the tough choices, the tough decisions, making the decisions that's to the advantage of the big picture. There's advantages and disadvantages to everything that you do. And the bottom line, you're not going to please everybody. Someone's going to walk away from the table upset and mad. But guess what? If they live, they will get over it. They will learn, like I had to learn years ago. You can't win every battle. Save it so that you can win the big wars that's coming your way. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our public comments. We appreciate everyone that has come out to speak this evening. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. And I do know if there's anything that you would like moved from the consent agenda. At
Madam Mayor.
this time, I recognize Commissioner Bellflowers.
Item B, consideration of approval of the nominating committee's recommendations for the Hope Mills Board, Commissions, and Committees. Item C, consideration of approval of the nominating committee's recommendations for dissolving the Lake Advisory Committee and the Festival Committee in accordance with the town ordinance. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we'll be moving item B and C to new business, which would make them item E and F. Are there anything else from the consent agenda that you would like to be moved? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the following changes?
Motion.
Have a motion, do I have a motion and a second? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and seeing none opposed. At this time, do we have a motion in reference to a closed section?
Madam Mayor, before we do that, we'd like to recognize Betty. This is going to be her last night, as she has been recently promoted as assistant director. And I just personally want to thank her for everything that she's done and wish her all the best and good luck in your new position, and please don't be a stranger.
Congratulations.
You've been here a long time, Betty.
Yes, I have. So it's been 2 years. I've been you guys' liaison. I'm not quite assistant director. I'm planning manager for current planning. So I'll definitely still be working with you all and working with Chancellor. It was a pleasure to work with the outgoing board. It was a pleasure to work with you all shortly. My kids go to school here. We live here. Hope Mills is still my town. So if there's anything that I can do for you all in our section, please let us know.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam
Good
Mayor.
job. Thank you. Thank
I'd
you
like to
very
make a motion to conduct a closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-31811 AG to consult with the town attorney on matters within the attorney-client privilege and pursuant to NCGS 143-31811 A5 to concern the acquisition of real property.
Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed, we will retire to the front conference room, and we'll be back as quickly as possible. I got all this paperwork. I don't know what to do with it. Okay. Are we ready? All right, this time I'll call our meeting back to order. Do we have a motion?
I move to seal the minutes of the closed session until time as such time as the release of the information would no longer frustrate the purpose of the closed session and further no action was taken.
Have a motion to have a second? Second. Have a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. The next item on our agenda, we do not have any old business, the new business. Discussion of setting a date to tour the Thomas Campbell Oakman Memorial Chapel and the Trade Street Museum. I requested this to be put on the agenda because of the new members that have not been in the chapel, and also the Trade Street house at the Mill House, because I feel like it's important for them to see it, and especially see where we're heading with it. Behind tab 4, behind tab 10, did you give us a calendar, or just, I didn't look at that tab, Miss Adams?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay.
Calendar.
Does anyone, would we have an,
Thinking.
I was wanted to make sure, there is power in both, correct? So if it were, it's no power, no lights?
There's power in the chapel.
Church,
Yeah,
in the chapel.
I'm not sure about in the museum. There is. Okay, yep.
Power in both? So setting up a time for those that have jobs, what would be, I guess, the consensus of the board? When would be a good time?
Are we shooting for January or February?
Since we had items on here in reference to the both, I was trying to shoot for January, but we can wait if we need to.
Okay. The only, we've got our training and travel on the 30th and the 31st. And Monday, the 20th is a holiday.
Right.
And the media meeting's on the 16th.
Yep.
Why don't we look at February, Mayor?
Okay, look at February. What if we did our first meeting in February is February the 3rd? Could we do something prior to the meeting that
5
day?
o'clock.
Would that work?
Mhm.
Would that work for
Or 5:30.
staff? How does that sound if we did it on the February 3rd prior to the meeting?
Might work out pretty good.
Keep me posted.
What time? 5:30?
5:30?
How long is it gonna take?
They give us time to go there and get back here by 7 or 5.
Might want to say 5, because traffic during that time of day,
better go
so
with
say
5.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, and you want to start at the chapel, start at the chapel, just the start meeting, our 5 o'clock special, whatever you want to call it, will be at 5 at the chapel on February 3rd. And then we can go from the chapel over to the Trade Street. So February 3rd.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I think it'll be interesting, especially for those that haven't been in the chapel, to see what it actually looks like on the inside.
Yeah, it was April, or February
February
6th,
February 3rd,
February 3rd.
February 35.
She'll do a notice of,
Quorum, okay. All right, the next thing on our agenda is discussion and consideration of directing the town manager to contact Preservation North Carolina, the Endangered Properties Program regarding disposition of the parish house building property that is considered endangered with immediate demolition, seriously deteriorating, vacant. And this was requested by Commissioner Bellflower. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Bellflowers for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I've printed out a copy for everyone here to follow along, even though I think Mason Steele sent this out in an email beforehand. But it's a consideration since we're talking about the parish house, and if we're looking at options of preserving the parish house, this is definitely one of them that I didn't even know about, that was sent from Kathleen Turner, the regional director, to Mason Steele about an opportunity. And if you look through the packet there, the Preservation North Carolina, the Endangered Properties Program, where the parish house clearly fits the definition of this program because it's a property that is considered endangered if it is threatened with immediate demolition, or if it's seriously deteriorated, which it is, and it is vacant. So it meets all three criteria to be considered in the Endangered Properties Program through the Preservation North Carolina. So it was an interesting read. I thought that maybe it was something that we could consider as a board, as an option. I mean, it's a solid packet that comes with not only a description about the Endangered Properties Program, it also has disposition of surplus public property. That's a part of this as well. And then other historical properties across the 100 counties of North Carolina that have actually been saved through this program. With, I guess it shows here, with investments up and over $200 million from folks that have saved historical programs. And then the back piece is probably one of the biggest keys that will probably go to Katie and Dan, is that you have a draft of a legal contract there that outlines the entire process and the procedure to even pursue this opportunity. So, since we're talking about options regarding the parish house, and one of them, of course, was try to save it with labor from the construction students at FTCC, but first, before that can happen, there's some stabilization that's got to be occurred. That's got to take place. This is another option to save the building, is to contact these folks and see if they're interested, if they are interested in looking at it. And that's what the motion is. I mean, that's why I put it on here. It's just to see if it's an option, if it's an opportunity to save a 110-year-old building from demolition. But here's a question that I have before I ask this motion. I've carefully sat on this question for a while, but I'm going to ask it tonight. What is the urgency to tear this 110-year-old building down? What is the urgency? If anybody in here can answer that, I'd love to hear it. The urgency to tear this building down, when there are a couple other options that we can pursue. I'm not saying that either one of them will work, but you don't know if you don't try and you don't knock on doors. Like this program here. Didn't know anything about this program till this email came in from the Preservation Department. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't even know it existed. So, many states have the very same endangered historic property program that you see here. This is not only in North Carolina. When I was in Virginia, it's there. It's in Maryland. It's in just about every state that has historic buildings. I think it's an option to pursue, and I would like to ask the board to consider it, so that's my motion, Mayor.
Okay, I have a motion Do we have a second?
I want to understand exactly what he's wanting to do.
He's asking to pursue, go ahead and state your motion so that.
Well,
Commissioner-
my motion is to direct the town manager to contact Preservation North Carolina, the Endangered Properties Program, regarding the disposition of the parish house building property that is currently considered endangered with immediate demolition, seriously deteriorated, and vacant. That's my motion.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, but I'd like to have all this done before we spend any more money on that building.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? 3-2. Next item.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning the cost estimates received as requested by the Board of Commissioners at the December 16th meeting concerning demolition of the former Episcopal Parish House. And this is behind tab 12. Ms. Adams?
I was instructed to obtain the bids. 3 qualifying bids were received, with the lowest being D&G Excavating at $7,715.
Is there any recommendation from the staff as to what these bids entail, if the low bid is necessarily the best bid?
I believe they were fine
With all of them? Okay, any discussion? This is behind your, tab 12, if you wanted to go there and look.
Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
At that meeting, I asked for this to, for the manager to bring this cost estimate back. And speaking on, I know we've already moved on, speaking on what Mr. Bellflower said with this other program here and trying to save the building. I think that's a good program, but there's no guarantees in that program. And if somebody did come along and take that building, we're losing control of the building. That building no longer belongs to us. Now, there can be stipulations put on it, what they do with it, but once they take ownership of it, it's their building and we have no control over it. Yes, it would probably restore a building, but we're never going to be able to use it. So it wouldn't be used as a museum. If we did the work to repair it, like we discussed at the last meeting, just for stabilizations, 140. You know, the repairs and everything, 212. You know, you're looking at $352,000 and some change or whatever. The cost estimate for demolition is a fraction of that. We just heard a report tonight on a $16.5 million public safety complex that we need to focus on. We got the church that can be saved. We can finish the repairs on the church and the museum at a fraction of the cost of that building. So that would be my points of discussion or my comments on that so far. If anybody else has got anything.
Any other discussion? Any action to be taken?
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Yes, Commissioner Marley.
if no other discussion, nobody wants to discuss anything about it, I'd like to make a motion that the board move forward with having the town manager execute the contract for demolition on that structure.
Can I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Does there need to be any other, is that motion?
We'll have to bring back a budget amendment because I'm not sure where the money will come from for
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, 3-2. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning the cost estimates received for a new roof and steeple repair for the Thomas Campbell Oakman Memorial Chapel, which would be the Episcopal Church. And those items are behind tab 13.
Mayor?
Yes, sir?
Madam Mayor,
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, if I may. So the lowest bid was in the amount of $5,143 with M&D Construction of Fayetteville. And if you do approve this, you also need to approve a budget amendment number 10 in the amount of $5,150 as well.
Mayor?
Yes.
I also, at the last meeting, asked that the manager bring this information back and cost estimates for completion of the repairs. And in that estimate, is that for everything to complete that building?
No, this is for the steeple repair and the new roof. We would still need to do some weatherization on the windows, a few other things that I've spoken to the Public Works Director about, that he feels we would probably need to bid those items out, but they're not major items. So we'd have to bring those back. And then also, we kind of would need direction as to what the purpose of the building is going to be. Are we going to allow it to be rented for weddings? Are we going to allow people to come and take pictures, tour it? Kind of need a little more direction from the board as to what they envision the plan for that building to be.
And maybe,
Mayor?
maybe after that visit, they can get an idea, so all of them would know more about what you could do inside that building.
But there is some weather stripping that needs to be done, and some other items that need to be looked at that we would probably have to bid out.
One of the first things that I can remember from discussion about that when we first got it was that we could use it for a little wedding chapel.
That was mentioned.
For people to get married in.
If we did do that, we would have to probably put some sort of mechanism in place.
Reverter
where we
clause
could place
or
porta-johns or have, because there are no restrooms in there.
Okay, any other discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to.
Okay.
I'd like to see us move forward with the repairs. That way we don't get in a situation like we are with the other, and we just need to move forward that project and get it completed so we can start using it. And everything that the manager said is good ideas to me for use of that building. But we can discuss that later. But if nobody else has anything, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the repairs. And if do I need to include the budget amendment with that?
Yes, budget amendment number 10.
Budget
And
amendment.
approve budget amendment number 10.
Okay, I have a motion to move forward with the repairs, accepting the bid, and also approving budget amendment number 10. Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed, 5-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of the nominating committee's recommendations for Hope Mills boards, commissions, and committees. And the nominating committee is made up of Mayor Pro Tem McCray and Commissioner Edwards. At this time, do we need to go over these committees, or?
Well, Commissioner Bellflowers asked that it be removed, so I would respectfully
Thank you.
ask that he maybe
Madam Mayor, I'd like to go over each one of the committees and have a vote up and down from the board on each one of them. And I say that we do that because that was the procedure we've done in the past. I also pulled it off the consent agenda because our rules of procedure allow any board member to make a nomination. So if you leave it on the consent agenda, it contradicts our adopted rules of procedure. That's why it's pulled off. That's one of the main reasons why it's pulled off.
Okay, so if we do that, then I'll respectfully ask that the nominating committee or a member of the nominating committee go through each group. And as far as the rules and procedure, you do have those in front of you, and the appointments to committees is on page, just had it in front of me. It'll be on page 15. And okay, so at this time, I guess my question is, are we going through member by member or committee by committee?
Committee
All right.
by committee, starting with the appearance committee.
All right, so at this time,
Mayor Warner?
according to this, you can vote on it individuals too,
Yeah, both ways.
but you're going, all right, if you want by committee. All right, this time we're looking at the appearance commission, and I'll, anyone that would like to make a nomination to the appearance commission other than those that are here, we do have a 7-man committee or 7-person committee that is before us. Any questions?
How many
Anyone?
openings,
Yes, sir.
how many openings on that
There's,
committee?
on this committee, there are none now. It's, if you go to our, behind tab 6, you'll see the recommendations. Of these recommendations, there are 4 that would be coming back for their second term, and there are 3 that will be on there for their first term. And all of these terms would be ending January 31st, 2022. They follow the terms of the commissioners.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to read the names and then they vote on them? Individually or as a group?
I guess he said we could do it, he's requesting it as a group. I
As a
guess
group.
the only thing would be if there's anyone that you would like to nominate to replace someone that's already on here. If not, then I guess we call for
Mayor,
yes.
I make a motion that we go with the nominating committee's
Recommendation.
recommendation, sorry, thank you. Recommendation for the appearance commission.
Okay, I have a motion we accept the nominating committee's recommendations for the appearance commission. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Have a motion and a second. Any
Mayor.
other discussion? Yes, sir?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
There's one person on the appearance committee. There's another one on the next committee, which is the Historic Preservation Commission. And then this same person has been appointed to serve on the planning board. So how is this individual going to serve on 3? Because that's clearly against the state statute.
The person that you have in question has not been appointed to the planning board because the term of the current person is still on the planning board.
Okay.
It doesn't expire until June 30th.
Okay.
So there is no appointment to the planning board until that
Okay.
expiration.
Okay.
All right, so
Just
let's
point of
vote on-
clarity.
Can we vote on the appearance commission then? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? None. All right, next we have the Historic Preservation Commission. And the Historic Preservation Commission, there are one member that this will be their second term, one or starting their second term, one that has starting their third term, and then there are 4 that would be brand new, and there is a vacancy. So I guess first is there a nomination for that vacancy. Yes.
One of the individuals publicly requested their name to be removed from the list earlier
Okay.
this evening.
All right, so we have 2 vacancies then on this committee.
Who's that person?
Mr. McCarthy.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
So now there's 2 vacancies on the Historic Preservation Commission.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
can
sir.
I make a comment here?
Yes, sir.
I look through this list, and then I go to the ordinance of Historic Preservation Commission, which is rather at length, and I have a copy of it here. It talks about the qualifications of people to serve on this commission. And I'm looking at, of course, Sharon Reeves has experience, Rod McLean has experience, even though he's withdrawn. Elizabeth Blevins with an art degree, I question that. Michael Solomon, I question that. Jim Blevins with a bachelor's degree, I question that. Sue Moody with the master's degree from the Art Council, I question all of those. And I think that we have an opportunity here, and I'm just going to make this suggestion, is to draft up a specific application just for this commission. Because the requirements for this commission are a little more in-depth, they're a little more broad than any other committee that you see that's on here. Because the very charter about the commission, I'll read this, it's from our website. The Historic Preservation Commission is established by town ordinance, which it is, and has adopted official rules of procedure governing their meetings, the purpose of which is processing applications for certificates of appropriateness as outlined in North Carolina General Statute 160A 400.9 Section 3C. So, and I'd go through and I'll look at, well, what's the qualifications for these folks to serve on this commission? And I see that you've got to have quite a bit of experience in certain areas to serve on this commission. And it may not, and have not, has ever been described or explained in an application. So my recommendation here is that maybe we shouldn't approve any of these appointments, redraft a new application just for this commission, and re-advertise the positions. And to come back to the nominating committee, which we already have established, for their review and recommendation back to the board. That's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of second. Is there any other discussion?
I like to say
Yes.
something. I don't have personal vendettas against anybody that apply for these commissions. I'm here to serve this town. I don't roll in cliques. I don't know a lot of these people personally. I want to get the objectives done for the town. That's why these people elected me. That's what you pay me out of your tax dollars to do. So I think my character has been questioned. And when I went into the room with the applications, I did the best thing that I could at the time that I felt that I was doing for the town. Ms. Joanne, with talking about the behavior, I don't have a problem with people that voice their opinions or having a different opinion than me. I do have a problem when it's disrespectful, and it's openly disrespectful because that affects other people, and that affects other people that have to serve with you, including town staff. So it had nothing personally to do with you.
No, ma'am.
So I'm on the Board of Adjustment, so apparently I can be on one committee, but then why not?
There's no discussion. We're having a board meeting. We do not have conversation with the crowd at this time.
Mayor.
Yes, sir. Well, I don't think Dr. McCray is finished.
Go ahead.
When it comes to Elizabeth Blevins, who submitted like a 6-page document today talking about the different things that the Historic Commission could do, which I would be happy to do instead of us arguing and disagreeing. I think if we work together as a town, there's a lot of things that we can get done together. We can disagree, we can peacefully disagree, without disrespecting one another and causing social media beefs or wars, regardless about how you feel. It's okay to have a difference of opinion, but we are causing ourselves not to be able to get town business done, not being able to progress as a town because we're arguing, because we disagree. So I disagree that Elizabeth Blevins does not have the qualifications to serve on the committee, and I do not mind if we re-advertise, because the bone that was carried, because that was a bone carried, I asked for the application to be done for all of the committees over again, because you can't really tell what qualifications people have with the applications that they submit right now. I can't really tell a whole lot about these people. So I asked for all of the applications to be redone going forward. I do not mind re-advertising, because the work that needs to be done with this historic commission, I don't know if we have all the experience that we need up here. I have a problem, and I question the level of work that's being placed on volunteers for this commission. Now, I know there's no town staff that's being assigned to it, but I think we need really experienced people with expertise to move this town forward as it relates to this historic commission. So I do not mind reposting, redoing the application for this commission right now. Like I asked moving forward that the application be redone for all of the commissions, so that we can see if we get better applicants that will apply for this commission. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yes, ma'am. The motion died for lack of second. So right now, we're faced with what's the will of the board. Okay.
May I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I know where Mayor Pro Tem McRae is coming from, but anyway, if we do redo it, and I know that we're going to work with Jane and we're going to redo all of them, because when you submit the application, you just say, well, this is my first choice, the second choice, and you'll say something that you'd like to work on this to get involved and everything. But when it comes to the Historic Preservation Commission, the ones that we did interview, some we did talk to, and Rob McLean was one of them. From what they said and all, I felt that they did qualify for what we had to work with, and I still feel that they do. If we're going to redo it, I agree with Mayor Pro Tem McRae that we can have them resubmit their applications, but along with it, I think they should resubmit a resume to go with it to back up what they're saying. And if they're saying that they have a degree in this or that or the other thing, they need to show it to us. But the way it stands right now, so we can move on, I think we should prove what we got.
No, Madam Mayor, I agree with you, Commissioner Edwards, and that's why I made the motion to redo the application. I really did. And it died for a second, but now Mayor Pro Tem and yourself agree with it. So,
well, what I'd like to do is go ahead and approve it now, and then to start working on, because we can't wait until we redo this and redo that. We need to move forward now. We have things that we need to do now.
And you have those two vacancies that we need to re-advertise for those also.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
My observation looking at this list, there's multiple names on this list that applied from multiple committees. So there was ample time. It was advertised for people to put in applications. I agree with our nominating committee. I support our nominating committee. They met on this. They went through the applications that were submitted, and I'd like to do the same thing with this committee. I'd make a motion that we approve the nominating committee's recommendation for the Historic Preservation Commission.
I have a motion to approve, which would mean that there'd be two vacancies available now. Have a motion to approve the Historic Preservation Commission. To have a second?
Can I second?
Mm-hmm.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, so it'd be 4-1. All right, the next is our Parks and Recreation Committee. That committee has 7 members. and there will be a Hope Mills Youth Association liaison that will be appointed by the Youth Association. And as you can see, there's 3 that will be brand new, and then there's 3 that have served before.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the nomination committee's recommendations for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising
I
your
have a
right hand.
comment, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Can I ask the nominating committee why Tonsi Collins was not recommended for the Parks and Rec Committee?
You want to make a comment?
I don't believe that's appropriate to.
The rules
That'd be
doesn't
more
say that.
personnel, wouldn't it?
But
I mean, it's if you
Nope.
want to, if you want to
nope, it
to
doesn't.
if you want to nominate that person, but the nominating committee's recommendation is what is before you that you vote for.
Mhm.
That's why we have a nominating committee. That nominating committee is to take the applications and select those that have applied, and then if there's a vacancy or if you want to nominate someone to fill that
Okay.
vacancy, you can. But they have a 7-member group here. I asked the attorney, but I believe what I read was that's why we have a nominating committee, is so that the applications can go before them.
And that's not an easy job.
No.
I went through these. I hire people to teach at a community college in this community. I've been in leadership position in higher education for 5 years. Before this, I've had other jobs where I hire people to work. I went through these applications for people to serve on this town as I would through a job application for my full-time job. I did not take this opportunity lightly. I like to just say that.
Okay, at this time, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, raise your right hand. Seeing none opposed. The next committee is our Veterans Affairs Committee, and the Veterans Affairs Committee has all but 2 that have served. 2, this will be their 2nd term, some their 3rd term, and we have 2 brand new members. And you also would have the appointment provided by the American Legion and the VFW liaison, which is provided by the VFW.
Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I've
Yes.
got a comment to make and a
Okay.
nomination at the same time.
Okay.
When I look at the list of the Veterans Affairs Committee, the member that's there, John Cook, he is the representative from the American Legion as the liaison. So you'll move John Cook over to your 2nd page to the American Legion liaison, which will open a slot on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and I will nominate Joanne Scarola for that seat.
And I guess the question would be, is that, as far as John Cook, is he a resident of Hope Mills? Is he?
No.
He's not. So he should be in that role. Okay. So we have a recommendation that John Cook be moved down to the liaison position, which is the role he plays, and that we have a vacancy, and there's a nomination of Joanne Scarola.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I got a question.
Yes.
Not really discussion, it's a question. I know at one time, I believe Mr. Bellflowers was wanting to get it where the American Legion liaison, the VFW liaison, had a vote in that committee. Did that?
Yeah,
we passed that, didn't
they're
we?
voting. Mhm.
Okay.
They both are.
I just want to make sure.
Both voting
Yeah,
liaisons. Mhm.
okay, yeah. I thought that had happened, but I wanted to make sure. I'm good.
Okay.
And Mayor, the VFW hasn't submitted a representative, and they'll do that at the next meeting, which is coming up later this week. So there'll be a representative that'll come from the VFW.
Okay.
That'll serve.
Any other discussion, any other nominations? Okay, all those, do we have a motion to approve the Veterans Affairs Committee with that nominee? And we've had a second on that nominee. So all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Seeing none. Next, we have the Board of Adjustment. And the Board of Adjustment, at this time, will be we need one regular and one alternate to be added. The regular meeting, represented with Michael Solomon. The alternate will be Rebecca Beck. Do we have a motion to approve the Board of Adjustment members?
Motion.
Have a motion to have in a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Seeing none opposed. Okay, moving forward, the next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of the nominating committee's recommendation for dissolving the Lake Advisory Committee and the Festival Committee in accordance with the town ordinance. And that town ordinance is behind tab 7. And at this time, I will, I guess, Commissioner Bellflowers, you asked for this to be moved. I'll ask for your input, and then they can answer to that.
I guess, why are we dissolving the Lake Advisory Committee? That's just a question. Why are we dissolving it? I think that's a fair question.
The reason why we're dissolving is because it's been mentioned before to them. The reason they were set up, they had a mission to do, and they've completed that mission. It wasn't set up as a committee for here on out. It was just set up as a commission for a project to do, and that's what they completed, and they did a fantastic job.
Even though Phase 2 and Phase 3,
They had nothing to do with Phase 2 or Phase 3.
that was part of the Lake Advisory Committee. I wrote the document myself as chair, and it was approved by the committee. So, if you're going to dissolve the Lake Advisory Committee, then who's going to manage and oversee Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the Lake Plan?
Parks and Rec Committee.
For staff.
Okay. How many people applied for the Lake Advisory Committee? Sent in applications? Do we know?
3.
About 3 or 4.
Okay.
Okay, and the Festival Committee, I can speak to that since that's a committee that was called the Lake Celebration Committee at one time. That was formed when we planned the party when the dam was fixed and the lake came back. And that committee was made up of a good many Hope Mills residents, but it was an open-ended committee. We had a lot of input because of the activities, and they've requested that those people that were involved, like the cardboard boat race and those kinds of things, be involved with Parks and Rec when those activities are scheduled, rather than them having to meet to plan the festival, since all of our festivals fall under Parks and Rec. They're willing to work as we get to those specific items. So the Festival Committee, and according to the chairman of the Festival Committee, that was one of the recommendations that came from within the committee, was to dissolve what the remaining members were there, and that they would work with Parks and Rec. So that was the reason for Festival Committee to be abolished at this time. Any other concerns or conversation? Any other discussion?
Well, Mayor, of course I disagree with dissolving the Lake Advisory Committee, but that's just my personal view.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion in reference to this item?
Mayor, I make a motion we move forward with the nominating committee's recommendation for dissolving.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Commissioner Legg, did you vote?
I voted to do it.
Okay, so 4-1. Thank you. All righty. Next on the agenda is the manager's report, and I have been asked to let you read the manager's report this evening. I think, unless there is, you had planned to read the report, correct?
No, I have.
You had not planned. You have. Okay, so you're gonna give us the additions.
Yes.
I knew there was something we needed to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have additions, and then I believe Commissioner Marley has an item in my manager's report that he wants to speak to.
Okay. All righty. Go ahead.
Okay, so, thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Board of Commissioners. I've been asked by PWC to make mention of the PWC-sponsored Building Business Rally, which will be held on Thursday, January the 30th, from 2 to 6 p.m. at the Ramada at Baymont Suites. And 15-plus purchasing and procurement representatives for Cumberland County and Hope County's largest agencies will come together to promote over $1 billion on local spending opportunities. Every business should attend, and it brings business opportunities and resources together to help local businesses grow. The event is free and open to all businesses, suppliers, professional service providers, and prime subcontractors of all sizes. For information and pre-registration and local bid opportunities, you may visit www.faybids.com. And the town is involved in that very heavily, so I believe we'll have representatives at that as well. I have an update to our athletics and building maintenance. Effective today, the ground maintenance division will be completely relocated to the maintenance building at the golf course. This move will allow staff to address continued maintenance needs at the golf course and provide more room and security for equipment. It will be occupied by the special events and programming staff to store holiday decorations and also to allow staff a large place to create floats, centerpieces, and props for special events. The grand opening for the fitness room was today, Monday the 6th. Parks and Rec is now offering one-on-one personal training for $40 for one session or $150 for 4 sessions. A full article in the Sandsboro will follow shortly. There is a new partnership with North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission for outdoor and nature-based programs, and this is something that I had specifically requested that I wanted to see more of, specifically down at the lake. But we're starting with 6 dates penciled in for 2020. I don't have all of those dates yet, but the first workshop is Coexisting with Coyotes. It's a public education workshop on Wednesday, January 29th at 6 p.m. in the community room at the Rec Center. And this came about over a conversation during a site visit that the members of the Wildlife Resources came and visited and spoke with Casey Ivey back in December. This meeting was about potential opportunities at the lake and other parks, and this particular item came up as a starting point. The Commission provides educational public workshops in areas where coyotes are spotted or prevalent to assist in educating the citizens of a community and answering questions. Other dates that will be forthcoming include family fishing clinics, a bird hike, and a couple of North Carolina wildlife sessions with the Hope Mills Parks and Recreation 2020 summer camp youth. So that's very exciting for that new partnership. And then the last thing, finally, last week a sign sweep was conducted, and over 137 signs were collected and removed. Illegal signs that were placed on right-of-ways, poles, you name it. So, and that'll be hopefully moving forward, once again, a weekly item that is done by the inspections department and not other staff. And that's my updates. Thank you.
Did you have a
Yes,
question?
ma'am. The only thing I had was on the timeline on the Trade Street Museum. I see the scope or the timeline says, let's see, Once bids are received and a contract has been approved, work may begin. The process from requesting bids to work beginning is approximately 2 to 3 months. Once work has begun, it should be completed in approximately 2 to 3 months. That's like, so basically we're saying 6 months to completion of that, but I would just ask that anything we can do to speed the process
We'll move
up.
as quickly as possible, but I gave that as a sort of, allow for a little bit of flex room, because, things
Yeah.
happen.
I'd just love to see that project and the church be completed about the same time frame, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else in reference to the manager's report from anyone? Okay, a reminder that we do have a listing of our upcoming meetings coming up. We do have our next event for the board is going to be January 31st, and that's when we'll be, or January 30th and 31st, and that's when we'll be going to Central's Municipal Government Board of Commissioners training. Is there anything we need to know in reference to that, since we won't be meeting again until that Thursday?
We're currently working on a location for the dinner.
Okay.
So once we have that, we'll email you specific information about that.
Okay.
And then, also your travel information will be prepared and put in your boxes.
If you don't plan to drive, let me, if you plan to carpool with someone, let me know.
Okay.
By tomorrow.
By tomorrow? Yeah.
I meant to send you an email today.
Okay.
Is that the New Bern?
That's January 30th. Yeah,
Is that the New Bern?
to Newbern, yes, sir.
Is that an overnight stay, or we driving down in the morning and coming back at night?
No,
It's
we're
overnight.
overnight stay.
I'll say it's a long day to be in meetings, and have to drive down and back.
Yeah, we'll spend the night and then come home the next evening after those meetings. All right, is, this time, staff comments?
I'd just like to thank everyone for their kind condolences on the death of my mother. Very much appreciated.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here this evening and taking care of our attorney needs. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you all.
Okay, official comments. I'll start with Commissioner Legg. If you have any official comments for this evening.
Not really in main ones. I'd just like to thank everyone who came out tonight, everyone who spoke. Hope everyone had a nice Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's all.
Okay, Commissioner Marley.
Nothing right now, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Bellflowers.
Hey, Dan, I'm excited. I mean, Drew, I'm excited. I am excited. Just like you. Again, thanks, Katie, for coming. Thanks for everybody who hung out with us tonight and all the speakers. But I do have one thing. I would like to know, Mayor, what's the agenda for the special media meeting on Thursday, January the 16th?
That's just for introductions. It's nothing more than that, so that we can meet and they can meet us. So it's no agenda. It's not so that we have topics to cover. It's just an opportunity for us, and many elected do this as far as just an opportunity for the media to meet us and for us to know who the media are, because oftentimes we're asked for comments or whatever. So that's it. There's no agenda.
Who's been invited from the media?
Anyone that has, Ms. Starling can tell.
Because I have been out of town, and then there was the holiday before that. No one's been invited yet. So I have a list of the teams. My intention is to invite all of the media people who requested to be on our sunshine list.
Okay.
and
Okay.
Plus some others.
Yeah.
that may have requested.
Mhm.
And if you have anyone you would like me to include, please, I'm happy to add them to the list.
And I also would just let you know that there's also, we're going to have an opportunity to invite our elected, the members of the House and the Senate, and also we want to have an opportunity to invite our county commissioners. We do not have someone sitting on county commissioners that actually is from Hope Mills, so those lines of communication need to be open. So the idea is just a move to make sure that we stay in tune with everything that's going on all over Cumberland County, not just here.
Okay.
And I think the Mayor's Coalition is the first Friday in February, and that meeting is here in Hope Mills. So there'll be more information coming for that also. Okay? All right. Next, Commissioner Edwards, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Next, Mayor Pro Tem.
Let's have a happy new year. Happy new year, everybody.
Appreciate everyone for coming this evening. I do want you to know that the Hope Mills is a very big part of the Building Business Rally. There will be some short things on the Danny Highsmith show as far as Hope Mills. I was interviewed along with Christine Michaels from the Greater Fayetteville Chamber, but this is an opportunity that we've been a part of, I think, for every year that that they've had it. So it's a good opportunity for us too, and our of course Mr. McLaughlin is very involved in what goes on in our town manager. And with that, we do thank you for coming this evening. We appreciate everyone's support. And do we have a motion?
I got one thing to say.
Yes, sir.
Last night, I was watching cops on TV and saw our police department involved in the cops program on TV. I don't know whether you saw it or not, but I did, and I said, oh, I know him.
Pretty cool.
That's right.
So we're doing our job.
Yep.
We're tied in with Fayetteville there. Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Oh, yes.
Good evening.